All right. I just got up. And this is January 10th. I'm coughing because oh man. Okay, I'm coughing because I smoked a pack of cigarettes yesterday. I couldn't help myself. Whew. But I realized I learned my lesson again. I learned my lesson again, all right? I'm not going to do that again. Oh, man. Okay. You know, there's been times in my life, okay? I remember one in particular. And I'm making this journal entry because I have to apologize. All right. I knew as soon as I opened my eyes, I can't remember what I was dreaming. But as soon as I opened my eyes, okay, I knew. I felt it's been a couple of days of a lot of sinking hearts. But I realized I had to, my heart sank, okay, with fear and dread. And I have to apologize for saying one thing, okay? And I have to admit, for one thing, that also, okay, that I am imperfect. And I have to apologize for saying that sometimes I don't think that God is real. Okay. Because that makes me feel guilty for saying that. And it's just many times, okay, I believe that God holds my life in God's hand, and on the other hand, okay, well, I believe God has my life in, at least kind of in hand. And sometimes I think that life don't really matter all that much. It's just a test run. And it behooves us to do our best under the circumstances. And not say anything bad, okay? This was the story of the book of Job. He was very, very hard tortured and made to suffer many, many things, and in the end he opened his mouth and actually said something, and who could blame him? And God said, in the story, of course, very, very old story, where were you when I threw the stars out into heaven, into the heavens or whatever, you know? Where were you when I put the sea monster in the sea? Where were you? Where were you? Where were you? Okay. You better shut your mouth, Job, because you're getting yourself into a world of shit, okay, and you don't even know what's going on. And okay, that's the way we are. I don't know what's going on. But I can't say something and then you, my grandchildren, like, I don't know, try to do like what I'm doing or something, or what I'm saying, or take my prompt for an action, and then somehow my words are responsible for an action of doubt or not, proper calculation. And you just have to always, do your own calculation. You got to see with your own eyes. All right. And in this life, okay, there's things that are so bad, just like Renee Good getting shot yesterday. Renee Nicole Good, not yesterday, but I think a couple days ago. It seems like it was yesterday. Okay, because the video came out. The videos are coming out, okay? That's why I seen them yesterday. And it's hard to actually believe, okay, that there could be a God in heaven, so to speak. And because heaven is no place, okay? Heaven is a concept. And Jesus said heaven is in our heart. Okay, so there's a lot of things we don't understand. And even the old songs of the church say this much. Many things about tomorrow we don't seem to understand. But and even though we don't know about tomorrow, we know who holds our hand. And look, you can believe in a heavenly, God, as though God were a father, but sometimes it doesn't really seem that way. Because, no father would ever let these kind of things happen. This is why it's hard to understand, okay? It's really, really hard to understand how this life can be the way that it is. And it does seem like, well, it don't seem like it. It is a fact, okay? Renee Good got shot in the head, face 3 times. And then afterward, the person said, "That effing bitch." And then he thought that his own video footage somehow, proved that he was in the right, or maybe he thinks he's just immune, but that that somehow that he was justified. Apology is I only understood apology for, saying you're sorry, okay? Okay, so I am saying I'm sorry. Also, apology is like a defense, like a lawyer would give. They call that an apology, okay? And it ain't got nothing to do with saying you're sorry. It has to do with, proving a point. And okay, a point has been proven to me, all right, that I have made mistakes in my life, a lot of mistakes, okay, which I did not intend to make. And sometimes you make mistakes because you actually really don't really know what to do. Sometimes you make mistakes because, I don't know, the moment might be like exciting or something, pull you in or something. Or you could even make a mistake because you're compromised, like your mental faculties. Maybe you didn't see things, I don't know, like happens to people when they get drunk, right? Because look, okay. I remember one time, waking up in my bed with my clothes on and not knowing how I got there. Okay. And then my friend coming over in the morning and checking up on me because for some reason maybe I couldn't function or something. But the thing is, I have no recollection. I got no recollection of what happened, but at least somebody was with me. And it's hard sometimes. And that was the first time that first and only time it ever happened to me, but it's called a blackout. You can function in a blackout. Even this guy that used to live here, he used to box. He was like a trained boxer and boxed a long time. And he said that he could be knocked out, like unconscious, really, and still on his feet boxing. Okay, because you can get hit in the head and lose consciousness, but your skills, your motor skills, and a certain part of your brain, okay, can actually like keep you going. And I think it's built into us for survival. And this is another thing, okay, things that are built into these bodily frames. And most people believe that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. I mean, a lot of people believe that we are spiritual beings having a human experience, okay, and that consciousness, precedes us and will follow us in some way. And there's even people that believe, okay, that this earth here is kind of like a virtual reality. Hey, it's not even actually real. It's virtual reality. And this is just like having a headset on and somebody playing a game. And it might look and seem real, but this is just a game. Some people believe that. And especially, okay, when they look into the quantum nature of things, that it does appear to be that like we are in a construct of some type. And I don't know. I mean, are we chasing our tail? Are we the dog chasing its own tail? And it might be that way. But the reason I got up, because it's actually 5:32 in the morning, okay? I just got up and I felt really bad. I kind of felt like maybe I needed to delete my last journal entry, which I called my confession, because I said, I remembered saying, I woke up and I felt very bad about it. And that's why I had to get right up, okay? And say this and say that I'm sorry for not being, perfect. But I wouldn't want you to do anything wrong because of me. I wouldn't want to be held responsible for saying the wrong thing that might cause one of you, my grandchildren, to not be right, because I want you to be right and do right. And it's a hard struggle sometimes in this life, and this is what life teaches us, okay, that, no, human flesh, okay, is frail. We can be broken. Some people might not talk. They can be tortured and tortured, until they die and not say nothing. But most people will say something, even if it's a lie, just to make the torture end. And life does prove to us, okay, that well, that it's sad. We're gonna die, but maybe this is not all that there is. And like, how can you say? Look, it's been off for a long time because I don't know, but it goes off. But I always say this. Okay, when they when they switch, when they go from one video to the next, then they'll ask me, "Video pause. Are you still watching?" Okay, but this is boring space. Okay, look. This is what plays in my sleep a lot of times, okay? If I leave the TV playing because I want to try to learn until I fall asleep, learn about something. And usually what I'm doing is I'm learning about outer space or something like that. Because there's a lot that I don't know about outer space. There's a lot that we don't know about outer space. It's like there's a lot that we don't know about the bottom of the ocean. And all other things like that, okay? But I remember before I went to sleep that, you know, they were talking about how that these stuff made out of stone that's very, very old, okay? And some of it, okay, I remember before I went to sleep, they were talking about places, okay, that were like buried. And it seemed like, you know, they were intentionally buried, okay? Or could have been from a great flood. But civilizations in the past have been here and left remains, okay? And in the remains, it looks like we find what certain kind of machinery are able to made out of stone. And you know, they say that back when they were building big stuff made out of stone, they could actually levitate those stones through sound, is what they think. Somehow they learned how to do it. I don't know. Look, when I was a kid, I don't think it's a false memory. I do not think it's a false memory because I remember thinking this throughout my life, okay, after it happened. Thinking about it, wow, can't believe that. I would be at my cousin's house, and my cousin Tina would be at the head of the person and do this thing, okay, about, okay, I had an uncle named Boomer, and he was a big guy. That's why they called him Boomer, okay? And that's why I called my baby dog Boomer, because he was a big dog. And after I realized who he was and how he was going to be, I had to call him Boomer. And so I had an uncle named Boomer too. And so he's laying down, and my cousins wanted to do this, and so my cousin Tina was at his head, and my cousin Jody and Kyle and me and my brother were all pretty sure like I was actually like on his side, okay? I don't know who was at his feet. One person was one side of his hip, the other person on the other side of his hip, another person at his feet, one person at his head. And then she'd go through this ritual saying everybody have their eyes shut. It would be dark. And she would say something about falling down a well, a deep, deep well. You keep falling and falling. and then you hit the bottom and you're stiff as a board. Okay. But there's something about like, and now we will rise. And I only had 2 fingers, okay? 2 fingers. I had 2 fingers like under one side of him. Another person had 2 fingers under the other side of him, just like that, okay? 2 fingers from each hand. Like that. 2 fingers on the head, okay? And now we will rise. I swear to God, we lifted him straight up out of the air. Straight up off the ground, okay? Right up off the floor. I don't know how it happened. I don't think I was somehow tricked or anything. Like, my cousin Tina is still alive, okay? Well, I hope. Like, I don't know if she's still. I hope she's still alive, but it's not like I talk to anybody. You know, I don't even have telephone numbers for my own kids. 2 of them. At least I don't think I do. If I do, well, I don't. And obviously, I wasn't the perfect dad, or they'd probably still be talking to me. And, well, I don't think I was a bad dad, though. But I guess I wasn't a perfect dad. Or, you know, maybe I was a perfect dad, but bad things happen to good people. Anyway, perfect is an illusion, okay? Anyway, so perfect don't... It's just like my son was saying about radical. My son was talking about radical parenting. And I asked him, I said, well, what do you mean by radical? Yeah, I know what I think I know what radical means, how I've heard it used in the past and how I hear people use the word, but he said, well, it don't mean that. It means something else. Radical in a good way. And so people use different words in different ways, okay? Like radical, okay? Like, you can say radical could mean like crazy, but radical could just also mean like outside of the group, but better. Because you got to think outside the box. And same way with apology. Apology can mean like 2 things which seem to be opposite. Like apology can mean a defense, or an apology can mean an I'm sorry. And the main purpose, okay, I got up, okay, because, okay, I thought that was going to be my last journal entry, and I feel like I still might not do any more journal entries, but I have to at least, okay, one last thing, okay, I did my confession, okay, this is like my confession. And I don't mean confession also, okay, confession can also be used in couple different ways too, you know. A confession, okay, some people have, when they confess of their crimes, okay, this is a good example right here. It makes me really, really angry, okay, that when I push that, okay, some big word can be used, confession of your, like, confession of a crime or something, like in court, you know, they confess. Or a confession is like an affirmation or a statement of what I believe to be true. I meant it in the terms of, okay, a confession or a statement of what I believe to be true. I usually use the word confession like, at least like over something like important. You know, just make it like confession connotates like it's something important, okay? And usually, like, okay, it could be like confession before you die or something like that even. But it doesn't mean like confessing, like, you know, for something you did wrong or something like that. But since I used the word confession, I'm thinking about it now. Makes me really angry, okay? About that time that I did push a knife into my neck. And when the cops came, I told them, I said, okay, before I did anything like push it a third time, because the blood wasn't dripping. Okay, the blood was dripping, but it wasn't pulsating. Okay, the blood was dripping. That was for sure. You can't push a knife into your neck a couple of times and not have blood drip, but it wasn't pulsating out, and I thought I was gonna see it pulse out like that, you know, and then it would just be a matter of seconds and it would be over. But it never went like that, so I pushed it in again. And well, the cops were there, okay? I pushed it in because the cops came, and I thought that I was gonna have to go to jail. And I said, because I thought I was being set up for something. And I mean, I just knew it. I mean, the guy took my car. I figured he's gonna put something in my car, and then like take it down the corner and then have it staged like, okay, and this belonged to him, okay, and I was gonna be held, go to jail and everything, and stay there. Okay, well, I wasn't gonna be doing all that. I wasn't gonna be going through all that business. Okay, seemed pretty real to me. And so I just decided to end my life. I mean, I walked around, I looked for easier ways, I looked for places to hide while I could watch. I think I told the story in my journal entry, okay? I don't want to go back into it right now. But I made a journal entry about this. I might have been the one, and I might have called it the knife. Okay? And I don't know if I talked about the whole thing, but just to say that in the police report, they said that I said that I did this for crimes that I have committed. Okay, I did make a journal entry about this before. I remember saying it. But I had committed no crimes. And I had committed no crimes, okay? And they said, and this infuriates me so much, they put in the police report that I said something about, asked them something, or said something about, and I said, for the crimes that I have committed, okay? And that ain't what I said. And I wanted to get the actual footage, okay, of the moment, but it would cost $500, which I didn't have, and I have to be requested by a lawyer, which I can't believe that, man. Can't believe that. But that's the way they played ball, okay? And this is the way people will kill you, okay? People will kill you. Just the arrogance of the whole thing, okay? Just like that, just like Nicole Good getting shot in the head, in the face. She actually gets shot in the face 3 times. You know, it killed her. It's still in the head. It still goes through your brain. Or something. And they wouldn't even bleed her out. And the guy said, effing bitch. And walked away. And then they try to spin it like, you know, she attacked him and she's a terrorist. And this is what makes everything so outrageous, okay? And when this kind of stuff happens, it's just so outrageous, okay? And it can push people to actually do things because it is so outrageous, okay? It would push people to do things. And it could push me to do something too. And the thing is, you know, they want us to fight because this is what the ploy is. And these are tactics that is, you know, in the art of war, okay? And okay, so this is what Sun Tzu knows. Okay, and I'm just saying, you know, Sun Tzu is out to win in battle. But I'm just saying that these people don't got the spirit of Sun Tzu. Well, I mean, I hope Sun Tzu was not just a murderer. You don't seem to be, to me. Anyway, he's not. I don't really know anything about the real Sun Tzu. Okay, because I never met him. And just like I never know anything about the real Jesus, I mean, I never met him either, okay? Except like maybe like in my imagination. My mom said she had a vision. And I did have epilepsy when I was a kid. And my mom never gave me my medicine after she had her vision of Jesus telling her that I didn't have to take my medicine anymore. So, and I never had any more seizures, but like I said, I did after I went through the military, after everything, okay? I did. All the time we would go back and tell them, okay, I used to have seizures, and I admitted it. And so they did to put the thing back on my head and said, well, you still have epilepsy, but if you don't have any seizures, don't worry about it. and the doctor said, look, a lot of people who have epilepsy, they don't even know it. He said I had it in my left front temporal lobe. This is leftover from last night. I'll put it in the refrigerator. I don't normally get straight up in the morning and crack a beer. Okay, look, you, my grandchildren, I want to keep it on a good vibe. I want to keep a good vibe, okay? I want to keep a good vibe. And it's always really important to keep a good vibe, even when you're in the foxhole. That's why some people do smoke cigarettes in the foxhole. All right. Okay. We are in the foxhole. I don't know if you can. I don't know if you can hear that. It's industry, man. I hear it all the time. These are people at work. Okay. And when you're in the foxhole, man, you get be at work, okay? And you're gonna get bombed. And you might have packed cigarettes and you might smoke them. And you might not really care about the cigarette, like, killing you or anything, because you'd probably be dead anyway. But that being said, it's important, to maintain a good vibe. And I wouldn't want to say, I wouldn't want you, my grandchildren, to smoke cigarettes, for example, because it's bad for your health. And once you get like an kind of an addiction to it, like, okay, it is an addiction. It's the only addiction that I really ever had. All right, I've done a lot of things. With cigarettes is the only one that really ever was a struggle for me to, like, urgency to actually, like, go get it back. And anyway, just here to say I'm not perfect, okay? Never was, never will be, and I know that. And on the other hand, nobody is perfect. And everybody has to have faith the same way. If you're gonna have faith, okay, everybody has to have the same way, okay? We're not just doing things because for the reward, like for the immediate reward. We're doing things for the long-term reward. Anybody that knows anything about trying, okay, running a marathon or doing anything, like, it don't have to be running. I mean, it could be riding a bike or whatever kind of triathlon or anything physical. Understands that it's kind of difficult to finish the course, but the satisfaction is in a job well done. And that's why, that's why work is the best therapy, okay? Some people think that winning is everything, okay? I mean, I just watched a movie with Robert De Niro in it, something called The Fockers, Fockers, The Fockers, which is actually a pun on like another word, But I mean, that's their name in the movie. I don't know if anybody really has the last name of Fokker, but I watched it and last night for the second time in my life. I mean, it just came up, I watched it. And okay, so Robert De Niro, he's a guy like he's ex-CIA guy, and he's and winning, it's about like winning, And then the other guy is like real liberal. The other grandparent is real liberal, and he's talks in real liberal language and stuff, and it's just a complete night and black. I mean, a white and black kind of situation, But in the end, they come together. Okay. There are a lot of stuff. And okay, I want to end things on a good vibe. I want to end my journal entries on a good vibe and just say I'm sorry, for talking out of my grief. Sometimes, our pain talks. Sometimes our grief talks. Sometimes our love talks. Sometimes our hate talks. But remember, we all wear a coat of many colors. And we are here to learn something together. And I do believe now that, okay, for one thing, you can't like make God like, the reason I showed this thing here, look, like that, because you can't make God like into like a human being. God is not a human being, for one thing. We are human beings. And you would think, though, that, okay, the reason we experience these feelings of love and hate, sadness and grief and humility and arrogance and, the pride of life and vanity. And the reason we experience all these things is because we are human. We wouldn't know that if we weren't human. We wouldn't know these things if we didn't live in this kind of a situation. This is the arrangement, okay? Maybe we do come from outer space or something, all right? And outer space isn't even outer space, okay? Because actually, time and space are only constructs in the dimension that we live in. And the suffering that we experience, okay, it's not the end of the world. Real life hasn't begun yet. But when real life does begin, well, if it does, okay, because like I don't want to even be too arrogant to even act like I even know about anything, because I don't know about things really that I can't see. I know that they're real, though. Just because you can't see it don't mean it's not real, and that's a proven fact. This is one of the first things we learn, okay? Just because you can't see it don't mean it's not real. And there's things that are real that although they are invisible, they carry a lot of weight. So, I don't know what I could wrap this one up with, because this is going to be my last journal entry for a long time. I'm pretty sure of it, because like I said before, I can't talk anymore. But I have spoken enough to you, my grandchildren. Okay, I've given you I made my journal entries for a time in my life to give you, okay, as a gift. And I hope it helps. And again, I'm sorry if I said anything wrong or misguided you in any way that I don't mean to. And I think I've said everything pretty much right and clear, and hopefully tried to maintain a good vibe and help you reach your full potential and be, a bright and shining star.